I'm your host, Lizwi, and my co-host,
Bontle.
Welcome to Drum Digest,
where we digest the injustices of the past, one story at a time. A podcast where we dust off those powerful stories from back in the 1950s, Drum magazine, that highlights to us the stories about urban black lives during apartheid. So today we'll be tackling Mob Justice of 1953, written by Deacon Timber, which essentially is a short tragic story about violent ethnic tensions and forbidden love between Basotho and Xhosa communities in South Africa during apartheid.
So the main focus of this podcast today is to walk you through how apartheid laws and spatial planning influenced tribal differences and ethnic tension in black communities during the apartheid era.
Okay, so before we get into the nitty-gritty or the analysis of the story, right, I would like to know what were your thoughts, your feelings, or if you somehow had a reflection of the story itself upon reading. It could be pre-reading or post-reading.
Okay, so in attempt of reading the story, I didn't know much about it, so I just sort of like went and read the story, and along the way I saw the commitment of Linga and Mapula's love, how they are committed to each other, and that's something I love. I love seeing people love one another. So that's one of the things I could say I liked about the story. But little did I know along like reading the story that I will come across the unfortunate that happened, whereby their love ends in tragedy.
So you didn't expect the tragic part of it?
No.
You thought, okay, it's just lovey-dovey stuff.
You see, yeah, I thought so, but then unfortunately it wasn't like that.
Right. Okay, now let's get into the deep dive. The main part of this podcast.
Okay. So during the apartheid era, apartheid came with laws of segregation, whereby blacks were separated into different ethnic groups and based in different townships. So our issue here in this story is overcrowding. We have an issue of overcrowding at the start of the story, whereby this issue of overcrowding leads to the fight and survival, it leads to some sort of a fight for resources in this little space that they are located into. So we could first see this glance when we read and see the first scene of the story, whereby Linga is at the train station. It is congested, people are pressing on one another, which highlights one of the struggles that apartheid forced on black communities. And also again, the way that these townships are planned. They are planned in a way that I could say allows a free flow of anything, you see. So while reading the story, there was a part whereby the mob wanted to go and retaliate with the Xhosa people. So in doing this, they strategized on where they will start, how they will go about their cause. So this is one of the other things that the townships that were created by apartheid I could say, catalyzed the way these ethnic tensions spreaded.
Okay, so I get that you've spoken about the space, and I loved what you mentioned that the laws of apartheid, or rather segregation, right?
Yeah.
I feel like the segregation adds to the rights of the city, because when you think of the rights of the city, right, we essentially speak of restriction of movement, right?
Yeah.
And you can remember that the black people specifically, right, they had to move with their passes. So we see this evident in the story where Mapula and Linga sneaking off and going to a rural area, because in the city they were going there to work, right?
Yeah.
Remember, Linga was a lawyer. Was he a
Worked-
lawyer, or he just worked
he
in a
worked
firm?
in a firm.
He worked in a
Worked in a
firm,
firm, yeah.
and then
Mapula was a
nurse,
nurse,
right?
yeah.
So I feel like they were just restricted to going to work and nothing more than that.
How do you think the issue of ethnicity today in modern day manifests itself?
Okay, let me start with highlighting the issue of race in the story first, and then I will answer your question. Okay, so in the story we see there's a conflict, there's tension between Basotho and Xhosas, right?
Yeah.
To an extent where we see that Xhosas are labeled as Matebele, Kilitebele.
Yeah, Ndebele.
Yes. And then the Basotho are Russians, right? So we see that conflict, and then now restricts Linga and Mapula from having a, I don't know, good relationship, right? Because
Oh,
of
yeah.
that, of the clash between the ethnicities.
It kind of like adds to the surveillance part, that okay, people were surveyed by passes, and then back into their communities they were also surveyed. So
Yes.
the two ethnic
The clash.
ethnic groups couldn't like be involved in that like forbidden love part.
Yes.
Yeah.
So coming to your question of how this now clash manifests today,
Yeah.
we see the clash, even though it's not evident, or it doesn't demonstrate itself similarly to the forbidden love in the story, but we see it through tribalism. We see it through specifically other tribes being tribalist towards Venda and Tsonga people specifically. So I feel like that's how it manifests into today's age. Did I answer your question?
Yeah, you did answer my question. You did. So I think this thing of apartheid really like hurt the African communities, because like when we look into a division of people into class, this really affected their identity. So you could see with Linga, there comes a point in the story whereby he has to pretend, like he masks his own identity and put on the mask of the Basotho identity.
And
so
the
that,
handkerchief as well.
yeah, and the handkerchief, so that he could be seen as one of their own.
Yeah. So I also have a question. I just had a question now. Do you think had the divide and rule tactic of the apartheid, or the Group Areas Act specifically, had it not been there, or had it not been put into motion, yes, do you think there would have been black on black tensions regardless of act?
Honestly, I think yes, there would be that tension within like black people, because okay, firstly, we have the issue of language.
Okay.
We have the issue of language, and then as this issue of language, it creates a barrier amongst tribes. And then right now we have like tribes that are willing to compromise or that are willing to meet other people along when it comes to language, and then there are others who do not. So I think, I don't know
More
if this
or less,
answers you, but there would have been things that would eventually lead to these conflicts and tensions amongst the blacks.
Okay.
So to add on what I said prior to your question, Temba sort of uses this short story to entail that back then it mattered who you were, how you identified, when you find yourself in a certain space.
Okay.
Yeah.
So now, okay, let me see how I can phrase this question. Do you think apartheid, right, caused a lack of structure?
Yes.
When you look at it in the context of the story, do you think that apartheid caused the lack of structure in communities?
Yes, I do think so. Because, like, you see, as these people were segregated to the townships, they had to fend for themselves. Like, there was no, I could say, like a certain structure they could follow. So this created a window whereby opportunists, people, chance takers will come.
Okay.
And here in the story we see Mapula's uncles, Uncle Alpheus and Franz, they take this opportunity to seize power. Yes, they take this opportunity and then they manipulate the mob. They manipulate the mob into doing as they wish. So as we have mentioned about the segregation and divide, here the idea of divide and conquer in the story is at its peak, because the segregation kept like the black communities from seeing a greater picture as they were divided, and then through this division they were quarreling like amongst one another. So you can say this is the apartheid system on putting those who benefit from it on top and always benefiting from it. Again, there's this thing that I've noticed is that control is lost when people emotions are manipulated.
Interesting.
Yes, when people's emotions are manipulated. In the story, we have like the two uncles, as they manipulate these people, the mob, into a fight that is based on senseless hatred.
Right.
Yes, a fight that is based on senseless hatred.
Because essentially it wasn't their business.
Yeah.
Now that we think about it.
And also, Mapula loses control when his nerves snap, because he was there looking at the mob that was beating his lover, and that thing made him lose control, and I don't know where did the axe come from, and then all of a sudden he has an axe on his hand, and then blood was spilled, not only of his lover but also his uncle.
Alright. So the control that you're talking about, I think that it is also reinforced in patriarchal structures, right? Because we see that the men, and was it Mapula's brother? Was it his brother? Brother.
Yeah, and we have his brother who goes and spreads the rumor of him and love.
So we see that the men in the story dominate the women, because we can see with the anger of Mapula's uncles when they found out that she's in love with Linga, who is from a different ethnicity or who is Elitebele.
Yeah.
Now they were very angered, right? So the men in the story somehow suppress or oppress women, because we can also see with the mobilization of women to join the mob passion or to join the mob, right? So I feel like, yeah, that is how the gender in the story is portrayed. And then Mapula's final act, as you mentioned, that blood, eggs, everything, right? Her final act in the end of the story, where she killed her uncle, is a form of breaking away from patriarchal structures, right? She now gains her own agency. She now gains her own autonomy, so to say, right? And yeah, that's a reclamation essentially of her individuality, right? Yeah.
Measures of a society.
Yes, she's breaking away from a society that tried to define her. Yeah.
So basically, this story, it is not just a story that tells about the livelihood and well-being of the apartheid, right? Okay, this is a story that a Temba uses and puts out there to spark the minds that will be able or have an idea on how to change and overcome these structures that were imposed by apartheid.
Okay, so that now that we have gotten the analysis and the nitty-gritty of the whole mob passion story, right? I have a question for you before we close. And this question also goes to our audiences, right? This story still resonates with us in this day and age somehow, right?
Yeah.
So my question is, does who you love gets to be determined by, I don't know, your relatives, your family, or your environment? Does who you get to love is who you get to love influenced by your environment or your identity?
No, honestly, I think that shouldn't be a thing. I think it is not influenced by that. And also, when you kind of like pick somebody out of the approval of your family, that kind of like gonna affect your relationship with that person in a way that there will always be like conflicts. So I totally don't think families and your environment should determine or influence who you choose as your lover, or you have as a Sotho speaking person. I mean, you have to choose a Sotho speaking girl. Let's say Zulu, Xhosa, you have no.
Yeah.
That is not the case.
Okay. Please drop your comments down in the comment section and tell us if your environment should be a determinant on who you get to love, so to avoid such ethnic tensions. And until next time, bye.